welcome and thank you for coming out on this rainy, cold day.
Can't hear you, Kathy.
Okay. No. Okay, welcome.
I guess they can't hear you.
Okay, is that better? Thank you. All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming out on this cold, wet day. We are the Lee Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. I'm going to introduce each one of us and also tell you what areas they represent. And I'd like to answer this lady's question in the front, why another survey? The Open Space and Rec Plan is like a separate entity. It has to go to the state. And the reason it goes to the state, it makes us, if the state approves our plan, it allows us to get grants from the state, the park grant. So it's very important that we have information for them as well as information for the master plan as well. So on our committee, Mary Britton, who's also the co-chair with me, and she represents the Agricultural Commission. I represent the Lee Youth Commission and the master plan, as well as other areas. Joan Angelo, and she represents the Lee Land Trust and the Greener Gateway. Linda Sizz represents the Lee Land Trust. Conrad Decker from the Planning Board. Mark Navin, the Conservation Commission and Master Plan. Sean Rainier of the Board of Selectmen and the Master Plan Committee. Lenny Tisdale is in the back there. Public Works Department. Gail Cerisia, Agricultural Commission. And those are the people that make up this Lee Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. I'm going to turn everything over to Sean and to Seth. Thank you, everybody.
I don't really have anything to say. Thanks, Kathy. I'll just give it right to Seth to start the presentation. Right?
Yeah, I will try. So I'm not going to use the microphone because I think if you can't hear me, let me know. But I usually, people don't have a hard time hearing my voice. So we're all here today to talk about open spaces in Lee. On your screen, you should see this same image. The first few slides are informational only, so there's no interactive portion. I'll let you know when we get to some of the ones where you get to lend your voice. So when we're talking about open space, the state of Massachusetts defines open space as a whole wide variety of different open lands. So conservation lands, forested lands, recreation lands, could be state park, fish and game lands, agricultural lands, quarter parks like scenic byways, or small town parks like pocket parks, green buffers along roadways, or any open area that's owned by an agency or organization dedicated to conservation. But it also includes things like brownfields and undeveloped vacant lots that can be redeveloped into recreational areas. So how is the plan being developed? Well, we're in coordination with the Master Plan Committee. This information will be input into the master plan as the open space component, but it is its own separate standalone plan. As Kathy mentioned, it's submitted to the state and it makes the town eligible for a variety of different grant funding. Again, you can see the committee that was all town volunteers that has been working the past 6 months to update the plan. And then the image here, and we've also got a paper image in the back, is all the open space land or all the land uses in Lee. So not just open space, but commercial land, mixed use land, residential. There are post-it notes up there. If you want to add a post-it to that map, feel free to leave a comment there. So the open space and recreation plan is an existing plan in Lee. The last one that was developed in January 2016. The plans have a lifespan of 7 years. So the old one is becoming obsolete, and the town needs to update it in order to remain eligible for that grant funding. So that's part of the reason why we're undertaking this process. But because there is an existing plan, we're not reinventing the wheel. A lot of the information in the old plan is still relevant. So we're really just updating the plan, and that's what we've spent the last 6 months doing, interviewing stakeholders, talking amongst the committee, gathering information, and then we're going to present that information to the master plan committee. This map just shows open spaces in Lee that are either town-owned or Lee Land Trust-owned, and of special note, there's a town-owned parcel that's red there. It's 300 Stockbridge Road. We're going to talk a little bit about that parcel here at the meeting, so that's highlighted. But you can see that there are a whole variety of town-owned lands throughout the town. There are open space projects already underway in Lee. Probably the biggest one right now is the Bikeway. It's currently in design phases. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's about 75% design complete. So once it's reached 100%, then the town will start breaking ground and getting that project underway. The last I heard, that project was projected to be completed in 2028, I believe. And Lenny, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That's correct, okay. So I know that you won't be able to read this list. Obviously, this is really just showing you where we got information regarding open spaces. There are 2 Excel sheets presented here that include the acreage, the ownership, whether it's open to the public or not. This lists all of the state, federal, town, agricultural, Chapter 61 lands in Lee. Chapter 61 is a tax abatement program that agricultural producers can participate in to make agriculture a little bit more economically feasible. So this is just a second list. That's the continuation of that last one. And that will be included in its entirety in the plan. And then this presentation will also be on the town's website, and you'll be able to zoom in and see some of that information in finer detail. So, as we mentioned before, the master plan survey tried to assess a whole variety of different conditions in Lee, and so there were a whole series of questions dedicated to open space in the master plan survey. And what people said in that survey about community needs in Lee for open space were that, and this is in the order that they preferred. So, the number 1 was the top choice that people presented. So, additional trails for hiking and biking, added sidewalks in the town, more areas for socializing, so picnic areas, gazebos, or other social areas. Additional courts, so it could be tennis, pickleball, basketball, or volleyball. Additional winter activity choices like cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and ice skating. Additional water-related activities like fishing, boating, or additional boat launches, possibly on the Housatonic. Playgrounds, and lastly, fields, such as baseball, soccer, or softball. The next slide is a participatory slide, so you get to tell us of what people said at the master plan. What are your preferences? Would you rate biking trails as the highest?
Where's mine go?
You'll scroll. As you select those options, they'll populate. So the first one you choose will be your first choice, and so on down the list. When you're done selecting those, hit submit, and it'll pop up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and hide the results, and then we'll, once everybody's had a chance,
I have a
I'll
question.
put them back up. Yep.
So when I did this exact survey before, one of the things that's missing here says water-related activities, fishing, boating, additional boat launches. I would say swimming. but that's not on the list anywhere.
So at the end of the presentation, there's a spot where you can add
I
just
know.
open comments. I'd like to see more options for swimming.
Where,
It'll be at the very end of the
this
presentation.
doesn't move.
So when you scroll down, there should be all of these choices, and then as you select them, it's gonna, the first one you select will be number 1, the second one, number 2.
How do you do this?
I have to use the mouse.
So once you're done and you've been submitted,
I don't know.
we'll wait for a couple minutes to give people a chance to finish theirs,
I did all eight.
and then I'll put the results of everybody's aggregated answers.
How do you do this, Kevin?
You have to use the mouse, I imagine. If you got a
If your
mouse.
answer is none of the above.
Yes, there it is.
Again, that's
It's the
something you
same
could add at the very end.
Thing, I'm pissed. Well, if I push water, then it's,
Give everybody like another minute or
Yeah, another couple minutes. I can tell you, we've got, right,
Anybody's having trouble,
I don't see,
let us know.
What if I say something?
right now I've got 18 results.
What if they hit something incorrectly?
how do you do this?
They should be able to go back and fix it, like remove it from
I know.
later
See,
in the-
that's just
their
not-
prioritization list.
So,
Oh,
Oh,
This is just
if you've already
I
submitted,
heard someone say it.
if you've already submitted, I don't know if you can go back and
Yeah, I'm fine. I
make that
just
change.
didn't know.
It'll show you your responses.
got here in the audience?
I got
That
it
was your
twice.
first.
So,
I can't even read it.
so I think we've got about 23 people here. When we get to 22 responses,
30
we'll,
altogether with 31 with all of
okay.
us.
So we got 21 responses. Is anybody still working or?
Yep,
Yep, okay.
I can't even figure out how to do this. This is impossible. I don't know how to do this. Can you help me here, please? Can you help me?
Yeah, that's the next one.
I don't know. I can't read it.
Yeah, you don't have to pick all 8. You can pick 4 and hit submit, and it'll leave the other ones unprioritized.
There's 24 in the audience.
I got 25 responses. So I'm going to go ahead and display the results.
Wait a minute, just a second. Just trying to figure out how to use this thing. God.
You don't have to do all
Okay,
of
that's
them.
it.
Hit
All right.
submit. Hit submit. There's no touch.
All right, so it looks like
Wait a
the
minute.
the master plan survey, at least the first choice, is reflected here today in terms of additional trails for hiking and biking. Looks like the second and third ones have been swapped, so people here say more areas for socializing and then added sidewalks in town. Fourth, water-related activities, winter activities, fields, courts, and then playgrounds.
Mine go in?
All right, so similar slide type. There's a few different types of slides. Some are going to be prioritization. Some might be ranking either effective or ineffective. This one is another prioritization. This one gives you the choice for more actions or strategies for protecting or enhancing these open spaces.
Isn't it right?
Just for everybody's information, Seth is gathering all of this. Like, this data doesn't just like disappear. Seth gathers it all, we look at it afterwards, so it is valuable feedback that you're giving us. So don't think that this is just gonna be forgotten about.
However, it won't replace or supplant the master plan survey, right? This is just another information gathering that we're doing in the community.
What is this?
And again, to reiterate, you don't have to choose all 7. If you only choose 2 and hit submit, that's fine. Yep.
The one about a strategic conservation plan that identifies and prioritizes undeveloped land for acquisition. What, does that mean acquisition by the town to preserve or conserve land as open space, or?
It could be the town, it could be the town working in coordination like with the Lee Land Trust and say, okay, these, or the Sportsman's Club, or, you know, other entities in town, so it doesn't necessarily have to be town only, but to create that prioritized list and then say, okay, here's what you all could be working toward, here's what we can work toward, so it's really creating that.
And that would be to conserve land for, as open space?
Yes.
Is that
Could.
It could be I mean, yes, open space, but that wide encompassing definition of open space. So as soon as we get to 25, unless people have objections, we'll go ahead and keep
One
going. We're
second.
at 23
1 second.
right now.
1 second.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and show the results.
Wait a minute. God.
Ready now?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Okay, so identifying improvements needed at existing parks and recreation facilities, so prioritizing what you've got. Then identifying additional areas for protection of either agricultural land, could be conservation restrictions, agricultural preservation restrictions, or Chapter 61.
Explain.
Creating a Lee Parks Committee to coordinate parks planning. Creating a strategic conservation plan for Lee, identifying and prioritizing undeveloped land. Identifying and developing additional recreational facilities. Promoting coordination between town departments. And lastly, developing a community center facility with indoor and outdoor recreational amenities. Okay, so this is a different type of slide. This one, you're given a chance to respond to each one of these locations in Lee as to how frequently you use them. If you go to Town Beach in the summer all the time, obviously don't kind of aggregate your total use. So Town Beach doesn't mean you have to use it all year round. If you use it a lot in the summer, that's the priority. So if you go there more than 2 times a week, you'd say frequently. If you never go there, infrequently.
Yes. So asked it. Oh, God, darn it. It won't let me do it.
Can you tell people where Bradley Park and Longco Park are, please?
Yeah, Bradley is over toward Lennoxdale. It's a small little triangular space with a gazebo on it. There's a war memorial there. And then Longco Park is on Church Street, which is, I don't know exactly how many acres it is, but it's a large.
About 100.
Yeah, about 100-acre area with some hiking trails.
It won't let me get down.
I'm not as familiar with the interface on the Chromebooks, so.
I think Marie's in the bed.
You have to push hard? Yeah.
So,
Yeah, mine didn't
wanna
work,
leave-
and so
you
I'm
want
trying to
there?
load it again. It's not loading. It wouldn't have.
Golden Hill is,
That's off to the right.
yeah, it's kind of up by the, across from Cork and Hearth,
Is that?
right? I think that's where the entrance is.
I don't think you can do anything.
Yeah, so,
It's just not loading.
yeah, crossing the Laurel Lake is
It's all
Golden
right.
Hill Road, you go up there, maybe half a mile. Yeah, that's on your right.
So if you use 2 fingers to swipe up, it'll scroll down the whole. 2 fingers on the swipe bar. Should. the touchpad. So that will scroll the whole screen up and down.
I live on Main Street. I frequently go to the Ferncliff Woods, about 18 acres. There's some really cool forests and rock formations around there, and it's right in the center of town where the most number of people could access without a car.
Yep.
Is that kind of area on your radar?
Yeah, we didn't include everything. If you want to tell us at the very end, there's some open response. You can say, hey, I use Ferncliff all the time, would recommend having more features available there. Just think of the frustrations the high school students have using these.
Oh, these are the.
Oh yeah, these are the school computers that we're using. Or the teachers that try and help the students with it. All right, we've got 25 responses. We'll wait for just another minute or two. Anybody else still answering?
The thing is, I have to say one thing on this one too. How many people are working full-time and can't use these twice a week or whatever, but believe in them for the future of wanting to use them? So that's not really a good question. I don't use it right now, but I plan to.
Well, you could put aspirationally that you'd like to use something.
I would have changed my thing then.
All right, so,
Question.
yeah.
Chapel Street is in Eastleigh, not Southley. What park are we talking about?
The Southley Park? Oh yeah, you've got that mislabeled.
So Southley Park is across from the fire station in
It's on
Southley, right?
Right, it's
Yeah.
on Church Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
So it looks like there's a good even spread, in terms of people are using park facilities across Lee. So it's not just one place that people use. So similar question, but this one is asking how would you rate those places? So which places would you like to see improvements made? If you use Town Beach, but you'd like to see improvements made there, that's where you can say it needs improvement, or you feel like it's a high-quality park facility.
Are you talking about access or the
Yeah.
actual place?
I think it's up to you to interpret that as to how, like, it could be either one. I mean, each one of these are subjective, and each person might interpret it a little differently.
Okay, because the beach itself is gorgeous. It's the access that's the
Exactly.
problem.
Okay, well, so what I would say is, if you want to leave a note at the end that says, hey, I love Leetown Beach, but the fact that it's controlled by a private entity makes it
There's no
difficult to
place-
use.
You mean the very, very end?
I'm sorry?
The very end of the whole survey, you mean?
Yes, well, where there's open response questions where you can tell us whatever you
At
want.
the very end.
At the end of the day, at the end of the exercise.
Yes.
I hope I can remember.
You're on the next thing, are you? I don't know. Really. You put 5. Oh, wait a minute, I did it bad. Wait a minute. How do you get back up?
So, I don't know if it really matters, but the reason that Southley Park says Chapel Street is because Southley Park is on Church Street, but there is a park that's missing on the list. That's the Eastleigh Playground that is on Chapel Street, but it's not on there.
This is really annoying.
Okay.
No, South Lee is right next to the, South Lee
It's all
Park is
right.
right across from the post office.
No, no,
the
it's,
fire station.
I mean, I created the
Long
presentation.
Cove is the park right, that the hiking trails.
Yeah, oh, they're like,
I see you hiking up there every day.
yeah.
It connects us.
Oh, God, this is horrible. This thing here.
Oh, to get
I can't do this thing.
well, there you did it.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
No, it's a slide that's there.
Why isn't it letting me mark it? See?
What?
I want to mark it here.
Oh, it's already just moved it
I got 21 right now.
to the right a little bit.
Yeah, they're a little harder to actuate.
Trying to put 2.
No, I want it at 1.
It is.
It's especially hard on the touchscreen like
I
a
don't know,
phone.
just really
Makes it,
annoying.
These are the ones I actually do.
No, it's
it moves it, yeah.
So what?
aspirations also for the future when you retire. So it would change my whole thing.
Okay, so yeah, the higher number is gonna be higher quality, the lower number is gonna be for needs improvement.
Put here. What? Oh, God. I don't know. I can't use this thing. I can't use it. It won't go down.
Yep.
You have to use the arrows.
No, you can't.
Include on that,
Going
the
down.
high school with tennis courts and
Uh,
the open field?
So that would be school courts and playgrounds.
Okay.
One more question. I didn't say anything about the ones I don't use.
That's fine.
So that's gonna skew it, right?
I won't, no, it doesn't add any data to those. It just,
Okay.
it doesn't mean that that's automatically needs improvement. It just doesn't.
I don't know.
You don't rate those.
I can't stand this thing. It went back to this.
Yeah, every once in a while.
2272.
It kicked me out to 4088.
Yeah, 2272-4088.
Sorry.
And it should bring you back right into the same. All right. We'll wait just another minute or two. Do you want a paper copy and then you can mark it?
I have one from the back. You want me to use it?
Sure, yeah, if you want to use that, and then you can just mark it with, there's some,
But then it won't go into the result.
we'll be able to add it in later on. Or, I mean, you can use what we've got for immediate results.
This is really annoying.
All right, so here are the results. Again, it seems like it's a pretty equal spread. In terms of most people feel like the parks in Lee are in pretty good shape. Some are rated a little more highly, like Town Beach or Golden Hill. Whereas Bradley Park and, well, Bradley Park seems to be about the lowest. The rest of them kind of fall in the middle. You can also see, based on the height of the kind of hill behind where people's answers were. So Town Beach, it seems like more people were rating that highly.
Well,
Okay, this next question asks more about individual groups in Lee. So specifically, how would you rate amenities for children and children and youth, adults, older adults or seniors, and disabled individuals?
So in order to trigger it, you have to move the button somehow, or whatever you call this.
The slider, yeah.
Yeah, okay, because, yeah, all right, so because I want to.
Quality, they put the buttons.
children is pretty good, adults not.
Like that one, you got
Over there or something?
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, if you want to leave it zero.
Hide the results of this one.
Adults and seniors, that, adults and disabled, I have no idea.
Okay, so that's what you gotta do.
I guess I would say the one thing about this, I know it's not a perfect system, but this allows us to get feedback from everyone in the room without allowing, some folks to maybe dominate the conversation or other folks that might not be comfortable in interacting, so.
Can you give me?
You don't want to do anything else?
We'll wait just another minute or two. We got 22 responses. Is anybody still trying to input?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Do you want Mark to try to get that back on?
Sure.
Mark, can you try to get everything back?
Just won't connect.
Got 24.
Can you wait another minute?
No,
Yep.
that's all right. That's all right. I don't.
Mark, you still?
He's trying.
You're
to
all set,
help
right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you are? Okay. Anybody else still working?
He's
Okay.
trying to
Oh,
help
that's okay.
Mary.
That's okay. I haven't been answering the last few questions.
All right, so it looks like, as might be predicted, offerings for children and youth are probably the strongest in Lee, followed by adults, and then older adults, and lastly, disabled individuals. And I think that would probably be similar findings in just about any Berkshire County town. So another question about long-term strategies for prioritizing open space in Lee. So again, what long-term strategies would you favor for the town to enact to ensure open space protections in Lee? That's your picture. I assume that's your like Hayfield. Yeah. So that's looking pretty much due east, right? South. So that's like the Tyranny Valley. Yeah. Okay. So this is all Beartown. Yep. Okay.
But not the highest of all of them. But yeah, we can do that on all of them.
Yeah. And Lusitanic, I mean, obviously that's where Lusitanic flows through, except it flows across that way, right? Or goes that way? Yeah, it's south that way. We're 2/3 of the way, I'd say. Yeah.
Up there. I was trying.
Unfortunately, I can't see what side we're on. I mean, I think there's 23, 24. There's more informational slides though, so we'll be able to. 5 feet is pretty quick. How we doing on time? Less than an hour. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got 20 responses. We'll wait just another minute or two. And just as an FYI, we're probably, I can't see which slide we're on, but I think this is about 2/3 of the way through.
That's all right.
I got 23 responses. Anybody else still working? Okay, we'll go ahead and display the results then. So in terms of long-term strategies, folks are feel that protecting, I'm not sure why those, oh, there we go, okay. Just moving my mouse. So the highest rated strategy would be protecting open spaces to meet town infrastructure needs. You know, as storm events with climate change become more pronounced, it's important that there are areas where that flood water can go. And then also protecting your own water supply is going to be important. The second highest rated would be protecting open spaces for aesthetic appeal and passive recreation, so wildlife habitat, scenic corridors, things like that. Followed by farmland protection and preservation. Followed by historical significance. And lastly, active recreational needs, so athletic fields, courts, and playgrounds. Okay. Sorry? Yeah, by the order that people prefer them. So on this one, please choose your top 3 actions that you would support to achieve some of those long-term strategies. So if that looks like public-private partnerships, you choose that. If you'd like to see more zoning allowance for open space conservation, select that.
Can you pick several?
Yeah, you can pick up to 3.
What does town receipt of conservation restrictions mean?
So if a private landowner was to put their land in conservation restriction, they could transfer it to land trust or the town. They transfer the deed. Well, it would mean that the town could then maintain that in perpetuity, like, you know, it would switch the overseeing group.
Why'd that one go there?
Which one?
I didn't push that one, no.
Push it again, though.
What does that mean? That all has changed. That one? What does that mean?
What does it really mean, public-private partnership to conserve or develop parkland?
So, I mean, that could take the form of working with like the Lee Land Trust or Berkshire Natural Resources Council or the trustees to develop a park or parkland, or it could be creating a group to oversee. I mean, there are some towns that have converted golf courses into town entities where the town manages the swimming pool, the golf course, the tennis courts.
Why did it go away?
Because you put your finger in the box.
I submit.
And this public-private partnership, is this in perpetuity, or is this just like a temporary thing?
I think it would be a case-by-case basis, right? Just give a couple more minutes for the last couple responses to come in. I got 23 responses now. We'll
One more question about the private partnership one.
I know.
So how does that benefit the town? I mean, if it's a temporary thing, then how would that benefit?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be temporary. It would be, it could be temporary, it could be permanent. I mean, it removes some of the liability for the town, right? I mean, it creates another entity that could oversee that, whatever that project is. I mean, it's hard without talking about a specific example. All right, if you're go ahead and keep working. It'll still accept answers. I'm just going to go ahead and display the responses. So a lot of folks are in favor of public-private partnerships, requiring developers to set aside open space within developments, encouraging Chapter 61 tax abatements for agricultural uses and purchase of additional parkland, followed by zoning changes, and the last, none, the town has sufficient open space protections in place.
Which is the one up there that was about the restrictions? Which one? I can't.
The town receipt of conservation restrictions, that's the blue bar, the number 9, third one from the right.
Wow.
So a couple informational slides. One of the things that the town is examining is this parcel at 300 Stockbridge Road that's been owned by the town for a number of years. It was originally acquired ostensibly to put a golf course in, and when that didn't come to fruition, it's been used as agricultural land. There is a farmer right now that farms some of that property, but in examining whether or not that's the best use, the town wants to kind of gauge how people feel. Do they want to see it continued to be used for agricultural land, or would they like to see some more development occur there? So this is a satellite image of the land. Across the top is the Mass Pike. On the left-hand side, although just barely touching it, is Stockbridge Road. Down in the lower right-hand corner is Via Maria and Via Bondi neighborhood. So that's one parcel that the town owns. I believe it's 171 acres there. This shows that parcel in relation to some other town-owned parcels. So in the lower right-hand corner is Longcoat Park. In the lower right-hand corner is a town-owned forest that there's a power line easement, and there's the water tank for South Lee. And then in the upper portion is the parcel that we've referenced. Longcoat Park is down here, bottom left. Yeah. So this is, it's mostly forested, and it's got the town water tank for South Lee, so water storage. So in examining kind of what uses, there have been a whole bunch of things presented, and this just kind of gives kind of a soup to nuts possibility here. So obviously none of this is in place, and none of it happens until the town says we want to move forward, but Some of the possibilities on that site: continued use as agricultural land, managing it for wildlife habitat and invasive species control, creating a connector trail between Stockbridge Road and Via Bondi, creating a trail network that then connects with the trails in Longco Park, adding additional soccer, football, or other fields. That was certainly more relevant when the town was looking to replace the existing soccer fields with the emergency services facility. I think that that's no longer the site that's being proposed, so it's not as pressing an issue, but still would be a possibility on the site. People talked about a dog park. Other folks mentioned a nature center or community gardens or some kind of a nature educational facility. Some discussion around a solar field. In meeting with the Sportsman's Club, they have a pheasant release program that they expressed interest in maybe partnering with the town to expand that, or other possibilities.
So they would hunt there?
I mean, it's open hunting, but whether or not it would become a more formalized arrangement.
So the Sportsman's Club raises 500 pheasants a year in conjunction with Mass Wildlife people. They give the club. Maybe you raise them and then we release them on open land. We don't currently release anything there. Most of it goes down to Turingham, some of them go to Pittsfield, but they do it from starting like 2 weeks ago all the way through Thanksgiving. For the hunting season.
So my question is, like, if it becomes trails, would that be a conflict with the hunting season?
I just assume so, but I live there. So I mean, deer hunters, turkey hunters, whoever are up there, now they go through my family's land to get to the town property, so that's already what they're using it for. So what we had talked about with the Sportsman's Club was, adding this to the list of places that we were allowed to release pheasants. Right now, the closest stuff is down past Open Spruce where the cemetery is on the left-hand side. We release several hundred there a year. Then they bring some to Pittsfield, they bring some all over the town.
And I guess I would add that generally most conservation land is open to hunting. So like if you go up to Donato's Trail, I believe that they permit hunting there when it's, as long as you're following hunting regulations, have, a current tag, so I think you're gonna find any of these types of properties do allow some hunting. Was there another question out in the audience?
We're not rating these, though?
There's gonna be a chance on the next slide.
So there's a chance that more than one of these.
Yeah, it could be all of them. You could say, I think everything, and that's kind of what's presented in the image, right? All of those things are given a place on that image. So here's your chance to say which of those things would you like to see on that site.
That white lighting, that white on green is not readable from here.
I know. Or on here.
Well, I can try and change that. Just bear with me.
Can you send me the link, please?
Oh, no, it's just menti.com.
Well, I'm trying to fix the.
Do you want a paper copy?
Black on white.
How many do you think?
Thank you.
How many?
Unfortunately, we don't have that option with our account. This, this service has a variety of different levels that you can pay for additional features, and that feature is not something that is available on our. So you should be able to see, though, on your own device, you should be able to read each individual choice. Yeah, so that could be, again, it would be dependent on how much investment the town wanted to make. If it was an asphalt path like the Ashewilticook, that could include things like rollerblading. If it was just like a crushed stone path, then that would be more like walking, hiking, running.
My comment is the trails all should have been one choice.
Well, I think we can get nuanced. You know, I mean, some people might be in support of one level of trail implementation and then others are more extensive.
Keeps the space open. Okay, let's go back to.
Again? Which one did?
Oh, before David Contact. Okay.
Who's that?
The vagabond guy.
Did you see it call him later?
He's got it. That's what you after.
I need to know how to do this, Kevin. Kevin.
If you push submit, it works.
I did already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got 22 responses. We'll just wait for another one or two to come in. We are getting to the end, I promise. Is anybody still responding, or can I go ahead and display? All right. So, folks seem to feel like enhancing the trail network with a connection, with connections to Longcoat Park would be the number one, and we just got another response, followed by enhanced wildlife habitat / passive recreation opportunities, followed by a multi-use path connecting Stockbridge Road with Via Maria or Franco, followed by continued use as agricultural land, a nature center, a dog park, partnering with the Lee Sportsman's Club, and lastly, a multi-purpose athletic facility. And nobody said additional athletic fields or some other use. So I believe the last interactive slide, other than just general, like, tell us what was missing, is asking specifically about community center. Last year, there was a proposal to build a community center at that site, which was rejected. So we're wanting to get more information about what preferences would be at an indoor-outdoor community center. This plan is more focused on outdoor amenities, but we did want to get a little bit more information about how people felt about indoor facilities. So tell us what your preference is for a community center. In the master plan survey, I will say that people responded overwhelmingly that they wanted a pool.
Yes. And you're not listening.
Well, it's the town that's got to listen, right?
Well, this is a message to everybody here. We're all live here together. We need a pool. We voted for a pool. We should stop fussing about it and figure out how to do it.
Again, there's like.
Once we complete the slideshow too, we're gonna have more of an open forum if anybody wants to ask additional questions and have any other feedback and anything in regards to any open space, recreational comment or question.
Yes, right here.
Oh, okay.
But do you want that one as your third? I'll just put those two.
We're at 21. We'll wait for another couple responses. 22. Anybody still working?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't, shoot, can you go back?
It's all right, I think you can still submit.
Yeah, you can continue to submit.
No, I mean, can I go back? I didn't push one.
No,
No.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think if you, I did set the presentation up so you could submit multiple responses, so you could go back to the last slide and then forward to this one, and it should allow you to resubmit.
Hold on one second.
So in terms of what folks here today are saying, right, this is in addition to the master plan survey, but folks here are saying we'd like a community gathering place. We'd like a place to do fitness and yoga. We'd like a pool, followed by additional indoor court facilities, followed by maybe it's not worth the expense, followed by additional outdoor facilities and additional outdoor fields. All right, so here's the open-ended, tell us whatever you want. There's going to be one question about what you think was missing. The next question will be about what the most important thing is, and then there will be a slide where you can just post whatever open-ended questions. So this one is just what was missing in the presentation or things that you feel like need to be included, like Ferncliff or access to Leetown Beach.
Do you equate open space with recreational space, or how do you,
So they're all, it's a very encompassing umbrella. So it could be agricultural land, it could be, hold on a second, I'm gonna hide the results. It could be wildlife habitat, it could be athletic fields. It's all inclusive.
and like little pockets of green space here and there, say,
Just put it down,
Yep.
please. How do I? Is there a way to open this and I can type in here for that? Let's see.
So are there 3 boxes, or is it all supposed to be in one box?
There's one box, and then there's a few more slides where you can there'll be other chances and other
Yeah, so
questions.
this one
This is
should
just
just one.
this is just what do you think was missed?
Yes, it is. Goose Pond is partially in Lee, right?
Goose Pond is most of Upper Goose Pond is actually in Lee.
Is actually what?
In Lee, yeah, it's in the borders. You sort of, like Lower Goose starts in Tyringham and then enters Lee. There's Leisure Lee as part of,
So do we own any land in Lower Goose?
no,
No?
no. The town of Lee, not to my knowledge.
Sean? Kathy? Do we have any land near Lower Goose?
Seth, you mean?
Tyring, no,
Permanent. Still permanent.
yeah. Most of Lower Goose Pond is in Tyringham, so the town doesn't own any property up there. And then Upper Goose is all, it's all in, I don't know, what do you call it?
Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, it's a
It's part of the federal land, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly.
I think
It's,
Lee Land Trust, National Park Service,
yes.
corridors for the Appalachian Trail, that all has
Yeah.
So it's all trail access, basically, except for if you come up through lower, through that little.
There's no road access to Upper Goose.
Yep.
I would say to all of us, since the Appalachian Trail is part of our heritage and part of our town, and now that we've become is it a welcoming committee that we call it? We should
Appalachian
really
community.
promote our relationship to the trail. You know, one of the biggest drivers for
Here,
people moving.
Bobby, can I ask you to just come to the mic?
Oh, sure.
We can just kind of open this up to be more of a open dialogue if you want, just so that they can hear you and everything.
Sure. Hi, I'm Bobby Paley. I've lived here about 21 years and been hanging around the Berks since I was 12. So what I was going to say is we have a lot of assets in town, and the biggest driver for people to move here is the open space, the nature, the rural living, with a very sophisticated overlay of cultural institutions and other things that the state and the city town offer. But we've never really taken advantage of the Appalachian Trail. We haven't taken advantage of 300 Stockbridge. We also own some fabulous land up near October Mountain. So I think we have phenomenal assets. And as we decide who we are in this chapter of the master plan and this chapter of our lives coming out of a pandemic, I think now is the time to really look seriously at our assets and develop a plan that we can implement in stages, but right away, not a plan that we take over 5 years from now. I'm too old and too ugly. I want stuff now. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and go hiking. The last time I went hiking on Lawnscope, somebody stalked me and I had to run to the street. We don't want that. We want safety. Let's take our assets and figure out how to use them in a way that every one of us has a place to gather. Every one of us has a place to do something, to see a friend, to do some exercise. It's our turn. Lee is the town that has all the assets and it can be developed for us. Let's think about it seriously. Thank you.
So I'll just go ahead and display if you want to follow up by coming up, if you have a follow-up question, but we'll just kind of go through the responses. So the first one is a youth community center geared towards teenagers, more active management of Ferncliff, a more inclusive setting, I assume. I think we covered the main points. Multi-use trails designed with mountain biking as a primary function, also accessible for disabled individuals, trail runners, and walkers. Associated costs of various options so that people can make informed decisions about town priorities. I think you're exactly right. I would say, though, that because prices fluctuate so quickly, that's a difficult thing you're really getting a snapshot of what the current cost is, and it could balloon, as we've seen construction costs do. Connectivity, additional areas for passive recreation, promoting wildlife habitat, all persons trails for all, promoting to get younger attendance at the meeting. We've no good access to the river. Could we buy and transform the Columbia Mill into a park? One of the improvements needed is protecting woods from invasives. Somewhat limited in what one was able to choose as choices. Eastleigh Playground on Chapel Street, newer hiking trails on Cape Street that was designed by Linda Siz's group. Ferncliff was misspelled on list. What grants were used in the last 7 years and for what? Beach is great, but need improvements to access to town beach. A longer day, 8 a.m. to 20 minutes after sunset. Invasive species control within and around Lake Laurel Lake. Access for swimming on Laurel Lake. Goose Pond access for swimming. Dance space, film open space in community center. Parking area for Goose Pond. Additional indoor recreational space can serve multi-functions, like sheltered and accessible space for seniors, ADA, and youth basketball, indoor sports to offer the community, even movie nights. Anybody want to follow up with anything?
I'm just wondering how with this dump coming in. Oh, sorry. With the dump most likely coming in, how are we to access October Mountain safely, or is that going to be completely out of the picture?
I think that would be a conversation with the state, because they're the ones I assume the campground is not going to be moving in terms of.
Who's going to use it? All right, thank you.
All right, so our next slide is going to ask about what the most important thing in Lee is for open space. So what is your number one priority?
Can you help me again with this? I'm sorry, I thought we were done. Does this mean
No, it's like the number one issue you have. So if you feel like Town Beach and access to Town Beach is the most important thing, then that's what you would put. Could be what our needs are, could be what we have that you'd like to see improved, could be, it's very open-ended.
Do we have a plan right now? Does the Commerce have a plan of where all these places are, where you can park and whatnot? Do we have any of that? Do you know? know we
I
have
guess
some
I'm not
parking,
understanding.
But in general, do all of them have parking?
I mean, I'm going to guess that all of them could have improved parking, but yeah, there should be some sort of parking at each site, even if it's just on-street parking.
Thank you.
So I'll just go ahead and display some of the results, and if you're still working, go ahead and keep going. It will still accept answers. Currently we have, the most important open space need in Lee is more trails, protecting habitat and water, stopping the dump, hiking and biking trails, maintaining what we have. Basketball courts, tennis courts need to be kept up. Trail clearing should be more frequent. Natural habitat, preservation for food security, flood control, wildlife corridors, and beauty. A riverside path all the way through town. Adding additional recreation lands and a mechanism for managing and promoting use. Bike path and future expansion of the same would be most desirable. Plain fields, adult recreation. Hiking trails and invasive species management at the 300 Stockbridge Road property in Longcoat Park. Maintain and update the spaces we already have. Protecting residents and wildlife's health and well-being, preventing urban sprawl. More open space. Obtaining additional funds through grants for the facilities maintenance and upkeep of our open space within the boundaries of our community. Whatever we decide on, based on the possibilities, there needs to be a commitment from the town to maintain, promote, and upgrade when needed the spaces. Access to Town Beach, walking and time spans, improved parking at other sites. permanent conservation restrictions for wildlife, natural water preservation, swimming in our lakes, wildlife corridors, mountain preservation, fire plan for the forests, downtown green spaces with native species, benches and trees, not for outdoor entertainment, just rest and meditation. Access improvement to, oh, I think I got that one. No, access improvement to Laurel Lake for swimming, alternate road to the existing beach, improved access to Edith Wharton Park, and a youth community center. And if there's any more, we can wait a minute before going on to the next slide. No? All right, I think this is our last slide, and this one is just whatever questions you have. So you can pose a question.
And if you don't want at this point to type it in and you feel more comfortable coming to the microphone, feel free to, at this point, anybody.
Yes, related to this though, right?
Well, this is just open, right? This is anything, any questions.
I could be, but I mean, we should be focused on open space because that's what the committee's here, you know.
Yeah.
That's the committee's focus. That's what we're tasked with by the town. So we can't really deal with other things that aren't related to open space.
Yeah, come to the microphone. Just let us all know who you are. And
Hello, everyone. My name's Hayden. I moved to Lee about 4 years ago. I like, recreating outdoors, hiking and biking. I'm interested what the committee's experience was from the last plan in 2016 till now. What was implemented from that plan, what worked well, what was, prohibitive, maybe what we could do better. It'd be nice to kind of pick some low-lying fruit and get things done. I guess I've noticed some kind of high impact, very high effort plans going on, and maybe we could focus on some low-lying fruit.
yeah, sure. I would say like a couple major things that the town's done recently. We talked about the Appalachian Trail. We have an Appalachian Trail community designation and a committee formed specifically to engage with trail hikers. That's something that we've done. The Youth Commission has done a lot of upgrading of the playground facilities in the parks, and then since the last plan. And I don't know, is there anything else? Maybe Kathy, you were involved, but here, if you want to go down, if anybody else has anything to say.
Okay. That's going to be okay, thank you. So since 2015, when we started working on the open space and rec plan that was submitted to the state, we completed the pavilion at the athletic field. We did get a state grant, 55% paid by the state and 45% by the town for the toddler playground. We've added playground equipment in all 5 parks. We're working now to get funding to replace equipment at the athletic field, equipment that's more than 20 years old now. So in terms of the fields, we're making sure they stay clean. We're having more events. The last event, very, very successful, was the skateboard park competition. We had something like 39 participants, the youngest being 3 years old. It was just spectacular. Parents were lined up along the skateboard park, rooting and cheering for the participants. We now have indoor recreation the second Saturdays of the month. We just had a very successful kickball activity, and in November we're doing wacky games. So trying to get really involved, still trying to get teenagers involved. And so we're thinking maybe doing a survey at the high school, middle and high school, to see what we could offer. It seems like basketball might be one of the things, especially for students, athletes that aren't involved in the basketball season. But we'll see what happens with that.
We just finished construction recently is there's a sports court fitness right here behind next to the football field. That was something that was partially funded by grant money and the town money. Gail, did you have something for the camera?
This is for future. I just think it would be wonderful if, maybe through the town mail site or whatever, that people were aware of what committees they could get on to facilitate the grants after we come forth with this master plan. It seems like there's a lot of the same individuals doing the work, and it would really be nice to have a good outreach, which would describe maybe the time commitment, because there's a lot of people that are working, and that may encourage some of the younger people in the town to get involved. I don't know. Anyway, just a suggestion.
Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very impressed with what Lee has done. I grew up in Lanesboro, and there's a similar size population and a lot less going on in Lanesboro, so I think you guys are doing a great job.
I'd like to make, do I need it?
I would like to say I wasn't criticizing the people that are doing it now. I'm just trying to facilitate a little more help.
Sure.
Yeah, talk right into the mic.
I would like to say I was just trying to facilitate more people being involved in the process. So the people that are working now aren't taxed quite as much. Thank you.
One thing quickly, did anyone else want to speak to that last question?
Oh, should I? Okay. Just in general, Lee Land Trust, we do have members who are active, and some of our greatest chores recently, over the past few years, has been getting rid of invasive species. And we are volunteers as stewards for Golden Hill Town Forest. We've had a number of work parties there, getting rid of the bittersweet and barberry, and groups coming through and just getting garlic mustard out there in the spring. So we have that. There is a process going through for Long Cove Park. We have encouraged the town, these are not Lee Land Trust properties, but Long Cove Park in South Lee has been greatly neglected for years. And we do have the Green Ages scheduled to work through there. The Green Ages last year worked through Golden Hill Town Forest to alleviate the big drainage issue that we had. So that has been solved. This year, a few of us worked on getting a new sign for Golden Hill Town Forest. The town paid for that. It's town property. But we worked on organizing the wording and doing the map for the town sign. And so that is up. So that property has been looking pretty good. It's volunteers that are needed. And the problem is we don't have very many young people involved. And it would be nice to have a group in the high school that would like to do these kinds of things, to join in a project, whether it's with the Lee Land Trust or with the Kiwanis or another group, or form their own group and look for a mission. Because, you know, the Stockbridge Road property is wonderful, and one of the first things to maintain that or do anything with that to save it is to get rid of invasive species. So I encourage everybody to look in your own backyard, because those sneaky little bittersweet vines that come up in between your roses, and you will miss them for sure. So that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, Joan, did you want to finish?
I'll just tag on to what Linda was saying. Since Lenny Tisdale is working on a lot of the roads with doing the cleanup, which we used to do, the Lee Greener Gateway did monthly. Now that Lenny's taken over a lot of that, we're free, and we've been working on invasive species, and we're going to be working this month on the alleyway behind the stores where the Starving Artist is. We're going to be cleaning up that alleyway with a lot of weeding and gardening that needs done.
It used to be a gathering space at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And people would come out the back door, and it was really pretty when it was first opened.
It'll be pretty again. We're working on it.
I'll just add one more thing. In the other plan, the bikeway was identified, and that was something that's come about as, it's not built yet, but it's a lot further along.
How long is that? Like about a mile, maybe a little bit more.
Nine tenths of a mile.
Valerie Blum. I just had a question when the list in the very beginning, it mentioned the Lenox Beach. And I thought, I didn't think that we were allowed to go to the Lenox Beach. And I'm curious about why it was listed. And I would like for us to have that reciprocal relationship. And I think that was mentioned at town meeting, but just wondered.
If it referenced Lenox Beach, I think it was referencing Town Beach for Lee. So if it was Lenox, listed as Lenox, that was a mistake. So certainly there is the shared, Edith Wharton Park that's shared with the town of Lenox. And that's supposed to be a park for both towns, but.
Is that the 28-acre little abutment to the?
Yeah, it's on the west side of the lake.
It's a fabulous piece of property.
I think there's some invasive, endangered species that have been identified there that have maybe limited some of the development.
Right.
And also, I just want to put a plug in for Ferncliff. I know there are some people who use it, Hayden and the West Buyers at Ferncliff is right behind. For what? A plug in for Ferncliff Reservation. I would like to put a plug in for that because a lot of people in Lee do not know about this incredible gem right in the heart of Lee that you can access from 4 different places. And it's just, I think that we should make more of an effort to do that.
Valerie, tell us about the advantages of Ferncliff, because people don't know. It's hiking, it's ball fields.
No, it's just hiking. It's just beautiful trails in a woodland park. It's depending on where you start, it's hilly. There's an entrance at Robert Street, the dead-end street at the very end, and then if you just go straight, that's a nice flat trail that goes to St. Mary's ball field, and then there's an access at the right behind our house, which looks private, but it's a public access from our orchard on up into the woods, and then at the ball field near where the crossway for voting. Anyway, it's a gem, and during COVID, a lot of people discovered it, which was very nice, and to have more people using it. Thanks.
So I'd like to go back to your comment and say that we have a lot of kids in school. Michael Richard, in his presentation to the master plan, we were talking about different ways to involve the students in the town, and I think having the Greenagers bring on some of the Lee students in high school and in middle school would give them some climate training and would bring them into the town and get them involved. And I think that part of our problem is, look at the age. The average age in this room is probably 65. And we need to involve everybody. And I think having these meetings, having these kinds of conversations should activate our mentality to be working with more age groups, more different demographics within our town, and taking hold of our assets. Ferncliff, it would be very easy to put signs up. I've walked that trail many times. Okay, when I started in the pandemic, there were none.
No, they've been there for 2 years.
2 years, so I started 3 years ago. Yeah, but again, getting hold of our assets, letting us all know where they are and how to use them, creating gathering spaces. This is what makes a town, and this is what we need. We need a place downtown where we can all gather and have coffee and have conversations and have lectures or programs or whatever it is. But we need to gather and get to know each other and make our town work with the assets that we have.
Library.
Hi, Cornelia Kalischer. So, first of all, I want to know, I put a lot of work and hours, literally, into writing up the same survey that was by a deadline. Am I not speaking into the mic?
You have to be really close.
Okay.
Good.
So I put a lot of work into this survey, which was the same survey, and I'm wondering how this one compares to the one that I already did. Do you have the results to compare? And how will this one be weighted compared to the other one? Because that is the one that I spent hours on. And this was, obviously, I was so frustrated. I couldn't read it in white on the small screen. The printed copy was in the dark. We were in the dark. You couldn't see it. It's dark, so I can't fill out that. I want my input seriously taken, and it was frustrating, this process, I have to say. So I want to know how this compares to the other process that I already did. I really believe in preserving our natural resources, whatever way we can do it, and that is taken seriously in terms of the master plan, because this is part of the master plan, and the master plan was not consulted over the years in developments, and therefore the open space plan was not consulted. And I mean that seriously because I was in a lot of projects, and I really want that taken seriously so that when things are developed, both are considered as part of a real plan for the town. Another quick suggestion is, as we were doing this, some people spoke up and said, I don't know where this is, I don't know where that is. So maybe a simple, on the town site, explanation of where these open spaces that we can use are and how to access them, as well as I hate big parking lots, but simple little spaces, like Goose Pond, if you want to go to Upper Goose Pond to take a swim without going on a huge, huge hike at an older age, there's an access point that you can't access because you will get ticketed. So simple things like that would be really, really helpful. What else would I want to say? I am for a pool in town, and I'm not, because we have one in South County, and perhaps it would be how to have access for those who don't go to South County, who are in wheelchairs or can't get to Great Barrington in some way. And why not support a community center that we already have? And yet I would like a pool. So I'm conflicted on that one. And I agree with what, I don't remember your name is, Bobby, about a space where we can gather and talk about these things and then support each other in doing volunteer work. Because I have limited time, but I will have more in the future and want to participate, but don't always know of the things. And so again, some central place so that we can work together. Thanks.
How you doing? Kimberly Warner. I've got 3 kids in town. We need a pool. We need a pool in town because my daughter wanted to be on the swim team. And in order for her to be on the swim team again, I would have to drive her every day to practice. How many parents can get out of work, be at the school at 2:30, drive their kids there, kill time, and bring them back home every single day? It's not feasible. We do need to have one here. One for the kids, and then the adults can use it too. But that would be awesome. Is there a list of where all the parks are, all the hiking trails are, where we can park, how we can access them? I know there's a list of parks, but all of them, because I didn't grow up here. I'm from Connecticut. So you come up here and everyone tells you, oh, the softball field's on this street. I'm like, I have no idea where that is. You know, there's not enough information on where the kids can go. Now, if your kids are really little, sure, the parks are great. But if your kids are teenagers, there's nothing here for them. Yes, we have sports, and Lee is a sports town. I get it. I've got one kid that is absolutely sports geared. I've got another one that's not. And the third one, kind of, sort of, maybe. There's nothing for them. Right now, I bring my 2 boys to Pittsfield for a Pokemon club. Why don't we have that here? We're talking about we're losing our kids, and everybody wants to leave Lee and leave Berkshire when they grow up. What are we doing to hold them? We're not. And yes, I was at the dodgeball. I brought my youngest and got roped into playing dodgeball. So we need more stuff here for kids. We need a community center for our teenagers. Do you know how many people complain that the kids are walking around town? Well, what is there for them to do? There's nothing. So an open space, a community center, but that community center needs to be geared toward children too, not just older adults, because we have story time here if your kids are this big. And then if you're retired, it's great, you can do things. What are we doing in between, those in between ages? Nothing, and we're losing them.
Hi, I'm Peter Blum. I'm chair of the Master Plan Committee and a member of the Planning Board, and I want to talk about some of the issues that Cornelia raised. We have, for better or worse, state laws that essentially require 2 separate articulated planning processes, one for the master plan under the zoning law and a separate thing for the grants for open space and recreation. So I think we've coordinated pretty well. We did do a survey last winter for the master plan, which is what you were referring to, Cornelia. It was a lot of work. Way back. When was way back? Oh, yeah. Well, we did anyway. The master plan group did a survey. But what's important, I think, is how it all comes together, and that's why I'm speaking. This group is going to prepare their plan, and they're going to also prepare a chapter in the upcoming master plan and submit it to the master plan committee for possible amendment, but probably just adoption as a chapter. And then that whole thing will be batched up. And I'm hoping that the master plan committee can finish its work by the end of this calendar year. And I'm expecting that we will have another public forum with a draft master plan for consideration by the town sometime in early winter. That's my hope. Now we've had, they have different staff people from the Regional Planning Commission working on the different contracts, so there may be some, sort of lost motion in the middle, but it all should come together in a way that allows you to check whether we've taken proper account of your comments in the end product next winter.
Hi, thank you for that presentation, which was really informative. I just have a request for clarification. We're talking about everything ranging from trails and agricultural space to the development of a community center with inside yoga space or basketball courts. And I'm wondering why all of this is under the same umbrella. When, we need both a community center and we need both these sort of green spaces. And, my concern would be that somehow if we're prioritizing all these things under the same umbrella, that they compete with each other. Is there any way that those sort of 2 very different types of facilities and needs can be separated so that we can really address them a little, more discreetly?
I guess I can address it just from the standpoint of the presentation. The community center is separate from the open space and rec plan. Kathy asked me if I would include some questions about the community center, just to get a little bit more feedback from folks. So we included those because there is a little overlap, because community center would include some outdoor spaces. But really, that's not part of the purview of this plan.
And I think I would just add on to sort of similar to what Peter was saying, is that as a member of the select board, I see us with the master plan and the open space recreation plan sort of taking that, actually trying to, during our public meetings, just trying to identify which options, which actions we can take and work towards regularly, rather than just leaving it in the drawer, you know, maybe every other month, every 3 months or something, during one of our meetings, just having a short discussion on what we've been trying to accomplish and some other actions that we can take as part of these plans. Because the other thing that we're doing as a town is we're trying out this a part-time planner position to help us work through these plans. Because right now we're updating this plan, the master plan. There's a municipal vulnerability plan that's in progress, and a number of other things happening in town that could really use a central person to sort of help us work through all these, which is why we're talking about adding a planner type position to our town hall. So that's something else to just kind of keep in mind.
Just to point out your question about these two separate committees.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. Just to answer to your question, I hope I make sense, of putting them together. It's still part of recreation. A community center is still part of a recreation. The difficulty with that is it's separate in terms of where you get the grant money, because this park grant doesn't incorporate a building. The CPA plan doesn't incorporate a building. However, if you had a building, you'd get the money for that basketball court, for that pool, whatever. So it's still, you know, interrelated, but I see the confusion within that. So thank you for your comment. And then you were next.
My question was actually answered, but I was curious if there's like a 1 or 2 sentence update about the community center. Oh, sorry, I'm Uli Nagel, Columbia Street. And also just want to thank you all, because I know it is the same people on a lot of different committees, and you all have like 2 or 3 different ones that you're involved with. So thanks for all this work, and to anyone else in the room who's doing it, I really appreciate that.
And there will be something, the Lee Youth Commission hasn't really done any update on a community center, because we're still taken aback that it was not welcomed at the town meeting. And I think the vote was like 55, I don't know, somewhere in the 50s against it and 2 for it. So we finally said, let's step back, let everybody like refocus, and we will get back to it. It is not dead in the water, but we'll see what happens. It might be a couple of years yet, but we'll still go back to it. Thank you.
So I want to make sure we address the questions that we got through the Mentimeter. So the first question asks, how can we get the word out about these meetings, and how can we get on these committees? In terms of the posting for the meeting, I think it was posted in public places in the area, so the library, town hall, on the town's website. Originally, the goal was to send a flyer out with the utility bills, but it didn't. Originally, the thinking was that it was going to overlap so that those 2 things could happen. Unfortunately, the utility bills didn't go out until after the meeting had already been scheduled. In terms of, and other people can certainly add, but how can you get on the committees? I believe that the town website has solicitation for volunteers to participate in any of the town voluntary boards and committees. So get involved with the Youth Commission or any of the other groups that are looking for more membership. And if anybody else wants to jump in, go ahead.
I think it would be helpful. I think, first of all, I want to comment that there's been a lot of really wonderful things happening in the town, especially since we had a new town manager, and I'm very pleased with what's going on. But I also think that sometimes technology gets in the way a little bit with these responses, and if there was some kind of point person that we could go to town hall and say, how can we help our constituents to answer these questions or find these items or of interest, or whatever they're interested in, would be helpful. I think I'm somewhat good with computers, but I know a lot of other people, there's a scale, and there's some people who are, the younger generation, they just sail through things. But basically, I think that would be helpful if we had a point person that we could, someone could go to, or maybe even little mini training sessions, I don't know, something that, then maybe people might feel more empowered and not feel like they don't know what they're doing and they don't have the confidence. They should be able to feel comfortable to come and ask these questions and not feel bad about it. That's just a general comment, because I think that might improve involvement. Thank you.
Can we get the other question that was posed on the Mentimeter, and that way, we've got about 15 minutes left, so we don't have to wrap it up, but we do have a somewhat of a time limit. Second question that was posed was, is there any plans to add playground equipment that's sized for adults, swings or exercise equipment?
Yeah, like I mentioned, there is a sport facility out here at the school that's, more active recreation for adult use.
Is it used?
Is it what?
Is it used?
It is used, yes, absolutely, yeah.
And we do have a facility at the athletic field at the back of the
There's
field.
there's also exercise equipment at the athletic field that Kathy is stating. Linda, did you have something?
Just a little bit on what Gail was talking about. And in general, we are looking to preserve, and we want to save our open spaces, and we want to do trails and bike paths and all that. But all of that entails maintenance and overseeing and constantly being vigilant about what is happening on these properties. And that's why some of us have been talking about having a separate department in the town. We have, for playgrounds and things, but we need for forest and, the outdoors. So just to keep, if we had a department and somebody head of that, a forester, or even if it was a part-time job, keeping an eye on these properties, and they would have a list of this, we've got a problem here, and post it and put it on the town website, that we need volunteers to work at such and such a place to take care of these invasive species, or we've got a drainage problem here, or we want to do another change needs to be done here. So that would be a focal place, at least for some projects. So that's all.
Just a quick suggestion for future surveys, like even today, it would be helpful to take a few moments to educate the community, so that you're choosing 1, 2, or 3, what is zoning versus restriction. I know some of that, but other people may not know the differences, and then their voting might change. So that, like Gail was asking a question about, I forget what it was, about is it permanent or is it temporary? Things like that, so that you know what you're really voting for. I think that's often a problem. And so even like a little description or a few moments, and I think that would take a lot less time and much clarity in getting the real results that you want. Thanks.
10 to 1.
At this point, I think any last closing comments from the community members or the public, because we're kind of, it's almost 1 o'clock here, so if there's anything anybody would want to add
I think we had 75 people.
Into the mic.
Thanks again for everybody.
We've got less than 50 people at this meeting, and we had 75 at our master plan meeting in February. We need gathering spaces, we need pretty places, creative spaces, we need to have some food. It would be a very nice thing to have cider donuts and coffee at our meetings. We need to get people, and the way to do it is create creative meetings. Being in a school on a Saturday morning with bad lighting is not the way to get all these ideas going, and having people spaced out all through an auditorium that seats 400. We've got to be more creative in how we gather to get these creative ideas and to put them into implementation. It's our turn in this town. Let's do it.
Thank you. If anybody has anything, you want to approach us about, we can give you some direction on how to get involved, but this being a public meeting, Kathy, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second. I second.
Right, and there's also sticky notes in the back if anybody wants to mark anything up on the plan. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.